Welcome back to Hannity. Yet another released Gitmo detainee has returned to the life of terror. According to a new report, Ibrahim El-Kosi, who worked for Osama bin Laden, is now an al-Qaeda leader operating in Yemen and even appears in a new video for the terror group. Now, the former detainee was set free in 2012 by the Obama administration. Now, while shocking, this should not come as a surprise. According to the federal government's own numbers, 30% of Gitmo detainees have or are suspected of returning to the battlefield after being released. Joining us now with reaction, former New York City mayor, former U.S. attorney Rudy Giuliani. We knew everything about this guy. He admitted to being a terrorist. Why would we ever let somebody like that go? Good question, Sean.
I cannot possibly answer that question. There is no reason why anyone at Gitmo should have been let go. We complained about it at the time. We predicted it at the time. We said it's a terrible mistake to do it. The first couple that were released, a good percentage of them returned to combat. So there was a history of people returning to combat. That 1/3 number is the best we can do. I bet it's a heck of a lot higher than that.
Yeah. And
this guy, there was an actual recommendation not to release him. There was a prediction by the prosecutor that he would return to hostilities. So that was standing right in front of the administration when they let him go.
This guy pled guilty to charges of conspiracy and material support for terrorism. He admitted to those things. So I would think, you're a U.S. attorney, how long would somebody like that spend in jail?
He would spend the rest of his life in jail.
Right.
I mean, and I see nothing here where he renounced his previous allegiance, where he said he wouldn't return. But none of that was done, and there was a recommendation not to release him, and they released him anyway. This is the reason we shouldn't close down Guantanamo. In fact, we should be putting more people there.
Yeah. Let me ask, what do you think of Trump's proposal? I just played for Newt Gingrich. Just explain, in other words, to have a temporary ban on Muslim immigration until we can fix the vetting system, especially in light of the woman with the Pakistani passport that got by us.
I think we have to be very careful about who we let in. I don't think we should let any of the refugees in. I think they should be put in a safe zone in Syria.
I agree with you. And we take care of them.
But if you do a ban on all Muslims, I have no question that you violate the First Amendment. The reality is, if you let no one in, you could say, well, they have no constitutional rights. But once the government sets up a system, the government cannot discriminate in the way in which it applies that system. So the minute the government sets up an immigration system, it can't use religion as a test, or race, or gender, as a basis for why someone can't come in.
Here's then a tough question. If you grow up in Saudi Arabia, and you've been to Saudi Arabia,
yeah.
Okay, but if you grow up there and you think you have the right to tell women how to dress, you have a right to tell them whether they can go to school, you as a male have a right to tell them whether they can go to work, if they want to go out in public, you have to go with them, a male relative has to be with them. There's no such thing as marital rape in Saudi Arabia, if you're gay in Saudi Arabia.
But we have to tell people things that are realistic. Thousands and thousands of Egyptian people from Doha, people from Dubai, people from the Emirates. We do business with them. They own businesses in the United States. We own businesses there. We trade oil. We trade natural gas. People. One of the first. I did the help with the security for the airport in Doha. Their first direct flight was to Houston, Texas. I mean, thousands and thousands of people go back and forth every month doing business between us and the Muslim world.
I'm not saying not to let Muslims in. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying that if Loretta Sanchez is right, Democratic Congresswoman, and those radicalized, the percentages are between 5 and 20.
Right.
Well, that's between 60 million and 240 million people.
Right.
So do we have the right to set up a vetting system so that if you come...
Yes, absolutely. No question about it.
Okay.
We have a right to set up a vetting system. We have a right to set up a vetting system that is a lot more, obviously, a lot more accurate, a lot more intense, and a lot more complete than this one. The woman involved in this attack in San Bernardino, she was vetted, and she gave a phony address, and nobody went back and checked on that. We have an absolute right to do all of that. What we don't have a right to do is to ban all Muslims. It would be
But we have a right to get the vetting system right, and we could stop all immigration until we feel we are confident we can protect the American people.
How can you stop a businessman that's been coming back and forth from Abu Dhabi, you know, once every month to conduct his business?
We sent the men to the moon and back. I think we can fix the immigration system.
You cannot establish a ban on all Muslims. And also, I do believe if you did that, you really would start taking that tremendous 1.7 billion population, and you'd start radicalizing a lot more of them if you did it. Yeah. That is not, to me, that's not a sensible proposal.
Let me play the president last month saying that closing Gitmo would not be a security concern. Because he was wrong about Paris. Before Paris, he suggested, oh, no problem, they're contained. And, of course, he said they're the JV team. And he said they're not an existential threat to America before San Bernardino. Here's him saying closing Gitmo is not a security risk. Watch this.
We can keep the American people safe while shutting down that operation. We've already reduced drastically the populations. Keep in mind that the bulk of people who were released from Guantanamo were done so under the previous administration before I even came in. We have reduced that population further, and I expect that early by next year we may even have fewer than 100 people at Guantanamo. We are spending millions of dollars per detainee, and it's not necessary for us to keep our people safe.
No one person has been so wrong so often.
That's as accurate as when he said ISIS is contained.
Exactly.
It's as accurate as when he said ISIS is a JV team.
Yeah. And by the way, John Kerry's saying that global warming is partly to blame for the Syrian refugee crisis.
Now you're really drinking the Kool-Aid with that one.
You've lost.
But I mean, the reality is this is the reason that people don't trust this president. I mean, he has been wrong so often. Look, the country was handed over to him safer than the country is today. And,
that says everything.
And if you go back to the old Ronald Reagan against Jimmy Carter, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Right now, this country is in a lot more danger than it was 4 years ago.
What do you make of the establishment being so freaked out by Ted Cruz and Donald Trump? They're the number 1 and 2 guys now in the polls.
I think they don't realize how frustrated, how angry the American people are at the government.
How did they not figure it out by this point?
Republican. Well, because they won elections and they got elected and they heard it, but it didn't really register. For the first time, it's really coming to the surface.
You know what people should do? When you were mayor, you used to do a weekly radio show.
There were weekly radio
people called
show,
in.
A monthly town hall meeting. I did 96 town hall meetings.
I think they need to get in touch.
Only one I missed was
9/11.
9/11, and then I did 2 in December to make up for it.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Mayor, good to see you as always.
Good to see you.